right, welcome back. So, beginning of week 2. So, really good progress with week 1. Did 6 instances of a body scan meditation, which is known as NDSR, according to Andrew Huberman. Or it's NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. So he wants you to do 10 minutes of it. He's got a video for that. But this course goes hard. They want you to do it for 3 hours in the first week in half-hour chunks. So I'm doing my best to keep pace, but this course definitely it goes hard. It's not a it's not a beginning. This is the good stuff, right? This is the course that was developed at the university by Professor John Kabat-Zinn. This course, I think, is in a lot of the actual research that like Andrew Huberman is like pulling from. So I wouldn't be surprised actually if Zinn was mentioned in some of the if there was like a lot of crossover between some of these kind of more popular Andrew Huberman videos and the stuff I'm doing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's pretty close overlap between the two. But anyway, I'm sticking to the course because it's all completely free. It was recommended to me by ChatGPT, and it so far has been pretty doable. So we're not going to make the same mistake I made in the first week. In the first week, I started the formal practices late, and I struggled to get them done. So the first thing we're going to do is jump right down to the practice sheets and see what the expectations are for both the formal and the informal practice for this week. Okay, and then I'm going to download it and save it in my Mbsr folder. It's going to be saved under week 2 formal. All right, and then week 2 informal. All right, and then the first thing I'm going to do is read that and highlight the expectations. So we can see it's saved in a strange format. So I think it's saved in PDF format. So I'll try again. So I'm going to delete those. And I'll try again to save it in the correct format. Okay, so we can see we have PDF or Word. We're going to go with Word. All right, so that's much better. So let's take a look at what the expectations are for the formal practice. All right, so this week the goal is to read the description of the sitting meditation. Between now and next week, we're going to practice at least 6 times. We're going to continue to do body scan meditations. Alternating the sitting meditation with the body scan. So when we do one, the next time we'll do the other. As before, and I wish these pop-ups would go away. They're very, very annoying. Okay. As before, don't expect anything in particular from either of these exercises. See if you can give up all expectations and just let your experience be your experience. Note, one of your 6 formal practices can be the live group. Record on this form each time you practice. In the comment field, put just a few words. Write it immediately. So I'm going to highlight this. At least 6 days of practice. Okay. And it's saying days. I think instances make sense. So if you do it once in the morning, once in the evening, because you have a busy day the day prior or the day after, I think that's okay to do it like that. And then at the end of the day before you go to bed, record it in the pleasant events calendar. So I wonder if that's what this is. Yeah, so that's what this is. Yep. Okay, so it looks like the instructions for this one are in the other ones. So it looks like what we're going to try to do in this one is to overcome the negativity bias, where all you can remember throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month is the bad things that happen, because the brain is designed to do that, because the reason our ancestors survived is they avoided bad things. They avoided getting bit by the bright red checkered weird colored snake, right? Because they remember that's the snake that killed the whole village. And if they got bit by the snake that just made them feel good, it doesn't matter. They're happy to get bit by that snake, so they don't have to remember it carefully to avoid it. So yeah. Okay, so I'll highlight that. So at least 6 days of practice. I'll just highlight this part, and then we're going to say at least 6 times alternating. Highlight that. Okay, so it's clear what the expectations are now. We're going to, at least 6 times alternating, we're going to do the sitting meditation, and then body scans. We'll do 3 instances of each of these. All right, and we'll start today. So I'll put the date in for today. And this is going to be the sitting. All right, and the next will be the body scan. All right, but for now, I'll focus on the reading, and I mentioned a little bit last time. I have a lot of experience as an attempted but failed classical musician. So this is going to be hard for me to read, because I have a lot of thoughts about this in particular that we're going to read about. And in fact, I actually see this as kind of a problem in the classical community. So it just brings up a lot of kind of, it gins up a lot in me. So I'm going to be mindful of that and try to close out this reading here. So this is week 2, which is attention and the brain. Introduction to sitting meditation. I'll be back. I just need a glass of water as I'm talking here. All right, I'm back. So week 2, attention and the brain. Introduction to sitting meditation. On a Washington, D.C. metro station, Joshua Bell, one of the world's greatest violinists, played a beautiful, intricate, moving piece on a violin worth over $3 million. During 43 minutes he played. During the 43 minutes he played, 1,097 people walked by. Only 7 stopped to listen. And even so, the implication there is that the people who walked by weren't aware or mindful enough, or there was something wrong with the people who walked by, is the implication here. And even those 7 paused for only a few minutes. And then even the people who stopped the pause are being thrown under the bus here. And the point is being made that there's something wrong with these people, and not something wrong with idolizing and worshiping Joshua Bell, who's just one of many virtuosic violinists. My favorite is Hilary Hahn. Only 7 stopped to listen, and even those 7 paused for only a few minutes. 2 days before, Joshua Bell had played the same music to a sold-out audience in Boston, where the seats averaged $100 each, and where people had time to watch the performance, and where people specifically made the decision to come and see it because they were interested in doing so. His minimum fee for playing a public concert was $75,000. How could so many people have walked by? And that's a good question, and I think the answer is that because virtuosic violin playing doesn't have the kind of appeal that they expected it would. Not that there's something wrong with these people and they need mindfulness or meditation. That so many people stopped, that so few people stopped, was not a demonstration of these clueless commuters, and we're calling them clueless. I don't know if we're doing that purposefully or if it's kind of okay. So that's so few people stopped was not a demonstration of the cluelessness of these commuters, but how the busyness of our daily life can sometimes prevent us from noticing the beautiful and miraculous things world around us. How many amazingly beautiful things do we miss in a day simply because the pace of our lives and intense focus on getting to the next thing? And again, we're worship idolizing this man. We're calling him, miraculous and beautiful. Just look at this pose here. It's like, what's the most successful band of all time? Probably the Beatles. The Beatles, yeah. So what they had a similar thing. They had a rooftop performance. Yeah. Where like how many people stopped to watch? Let's go to the AI. Okay, so I'm reading something that talked about the virtuosic violin player Joshua Bell, and one of the things he did, which was to play in the DC Metro station, and the result of which was 1,900 people walked by, and only 7 stopped to listen to his playing, and those 7 only paused for a few minutes. And the implication, I will not speak to, but what my question is the Beatles, from what I understand, did a similar thing. They played on a rooftop in London, right? And my question is, like, how does that compare? Like, how many people stopped to listen to the Beatles and how many people just walked by? And is this a fair comparison?
The comparison between Joshua Bell's impromptu performance in Washington, D.C. Metro Station and the Beatles' famous rooftop concert in London is intriguing, but there are significant differences in context, location, and cultural impact that make them hard to compare directly. Joshua Bell's Metro performance, 2007, location, Washington, D.C. Metro Station, during rush hour. Outcome, out of 1,097 people who walked by, only 7 stopped to listen, and Bell earned about $32 in donations.
Yeah.
Context, Bell, a world-renowned violinist, was playing incognito in a busy commuter setting, where people were focused on getting to work. The setting was deliberately chosen to see if people would recognize beauty in an unexpected context. The Beatles rooftop concert, 1969, location, rooftop of the Apple Corps headquarters in London. Outcome, hundreds of people gathered on the street below, with many stopping to listen, and the event attracted significant attention, eventually leading to the police being called to stop the performance. Context, the Beatles were already one of the most famous bands in the world, and their performance was highly anticipated, even though it was unannounced. The location was in a busy part of London, but the event was more of a spectacle, with people stopping to watch as soon as they realized what was happening.
Yeah, but they did that because they wanted to see the Beatles.
Were global superstars. People who recognized their music would have naturally been drawn to stop and listen. In contrast, Joshua Bell was not recognized, and the setting didn't lend itself to people stopping to appreciate the music.
Yeah, so...
Saying an audience intent, the metro station was a place where people were in a hurry, focused on their daily commute, and not expecting a performance. The Beatles rooftop concert, though unannounced, took place in a more open and public setting, where passersby were more likely to stop and be part of the experience. Purpose and impact, the Beatles concert was part of a planned event, captured on film, and became a...
What pieces were Joshua Bell playing?
During his performance at the
Yeah, nobody wants to listen to... Wait. Yeah, he's playing pieces from... Just people aren't interested. Like, this isn't... Like, this wasn't even written by someone who speaks English, I think, right? So the piece was written in... Okay, now in your answer, include the year that those pieces were written in.
Here's a list of pieces Joshua Bell played during his metro station performance, including the years they were composed. Asterisk, check on.
Yeah, nobody wants to stop and listen to a piece written in 1720. Like, music has to be, like, relevant to people. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to try my best to get through this, but this just makes my blood boil because it's everything that's wrong with the classical community and kind of why I'm glad it didn't work out for me because, it's nobody's going to stop and listen. It's just this kind of almost like conflation of it with a religion almost. Like, he's a deity. You have to stop and listen to a violent god, right? It's like, well, he's just one of the hundreds, if not thousands, of virtuosic players out there. he's playing pieces that amateurs play. Like I play this on the viola a lot. Like this is one of my favorite pieces to play. Like I'm not gonna play it as good as he will, but like I'd probably play it good enough to get $35 in the subway. It's like the difference between an absolute virtuosic and like an okay like former aspiring professional like me is like, you know, he's just gonna play it a little bit better than I am. Like it's the same piece, right? We're basically like record players, right? Like we're not doing something fundamentally different, right? So like, you know, it doesn't matter that he's so much better than I am. We're still playing this piece. Like this piece, like the characters of like what makes the playing good largely stem from whether or not the piece being played is good. So yeah, nobody's gonna stop to listen to pieces from the 1800s. All right, now compare that with what the Beatles were playing. Yeah, the Beatles were playing all of their biggest hits.
The Beatles' rooftop concert on January 30th, 1969 was the final public performance by the band, and they played a set of songs from their then upcoming album Let It Be. Here's a comparison between the pieces Joshua Bell played and the songs the Beatles performed, including the years of composition. Joshua
Like,
Bell's
these are all
pieces,
great
Jack Hodge, Pretty Number.
pieces. These are all great pieces. I play this one. It's one of my favorite pieces to play. I think this one's a bit beyond me. I try to play this one, but it's a bit hard. And the other thing about this one is this is a death piece. Like nobody wants to stop and listen to this. Let's listen to this piece together. You want to listen to that on your way to? It sounds like you're doing a death march to your death, which I'm sure a lot of people already think when they're getting off the subway and going to work. Like, I do not want to hear this in the morning. When was this? This was in the morning. Do not play this piece to me in the morning. In fact, even right now, I am getting depressed listening to that. This was written because Bach's. This is a funeral piece written to Bach's wife who died early. Like, this is a piece of anguish. This is a piece of toil. This is a piece of suffering. And you're playing this to people on the subway. Sorry. I knew this was gonna happen. Like, I'm like about to drop like, you know, F-bombs and start swearing and stuff because it's just absolutely unacceptable the way that this is portrayed, because, you know, this is a ultra elite wealthy person saying, suck it, right? Like, sit down and listen to what I'm doing because I'm better than you, right? It's like, no, the people get to decide what they like. Like, the Beatles did a similar thing on their rooftop concert, and they played all their biggest hits. Get Back, Don't Let Me Down, that's a great song, you know. And yeah, they drew a tremendous crowd. So it's like, what do you think is going to happen when you play pieces from the 1700s to people in the modern day? And not only that, you the first piece you play is a funeral piece to people on their way to work. Like, what do you think is going to happen? People are just going to walk by, right? They're not going to take time to feel depression, like deep depression, right? It's just so. All right. So. Yeah, so that So People Stopped was not a demonstration of the cluelessness of these commuters, but how the busyness of our daily life can sometimes prevent us from noticing the beautiful, miraculous world about it. I would say that Few People Stopped was a demonstration that this was a terrible performance. The set list obviously was deeply flawed. You should not play a funeral piece to people going to work. And people just don't care that much, or virtuosic, you know, nitpicking every little tiny note has to be a certain way. People just don't like that kind of music. Like, they prefer music that has a different kind of vibe. That's not so meticulous about every little tiny thing. That's just kind of like fun, right? Like, people want to feel good. They don't want to have a funeral piece played to them on a $3 million violin, right? They'd rather have like a $3 guitar playing some happy, jaunty tune that they can feel good about on their way to work, right? And talk to their coworkers. Oh, did you see that fun tune? That was so cool on the way to work. Instead of like, who's that a-hole with like security guards around him and like playing this just awful like sad piece. I don't want to stop and listen to that. So how many amazingly beautiful things do we miss in a day simply because of the pace of our lives and the intense focus on getting to the next thing? So I think that's a good question, but I think this is not a good example for that question, unfortunately. And I'm holding back. This is the kind of thing that really makes me really, really upset, because it's just a demonstration of how broken the classical world has become. It's like, you're going to expect people to stop and listen to a piece written in the 1700s that every single other virtuosic player out there has played. I mean, take your pick. Like this piece is recorded by every single this piece is studied by high school students. Like I probably had the chance to work on this piece even as a viola player. I'm not even a violin player, and I play this piece now. Like, I've tried playing this piece now in my adulthood, and it's hard. I can't play it. Like, that doesn't mean I'm gonna just stop in awe at somebody who can play it, right? I'll just either put it on a CD or I'll go about my day, right? And then the thing is, like, for me, like, because I'm a knowledge worker, right? If I'm taking the subway, if I'm taking the bus, I'm using that time to study, right? To try to get to a point where I don't have to take the subway or the bus anymore, because I'm good enough at my job, right? So, yeah, just really, man. So anyway, videos. This week's videos include The Monkey Business Illusion by Daniel Simmons, which illustrates both the incredible power of attention and the inherent limitations in our ability to perceive fully what is going on around us. Michelle this is a hard one. So it's Michelle Maldonado, in Mindfulness Practice, gives a beautiful definition of mindfulness: to be fully present in the moment, to the mind, body, and surroundings with curiosity and kindness. And again, I'm not all about that definition. I don't like that definition. I like my better definition is an alternative to mindlessness, part of a strategy for reducing anxiety, depression, and stress. That's my definition, and that's the definition I prefer. I actually really don't like this definition at all. Mindful meditation and the brain, and how meditation can reshape our brains. These are materials we'll get through as part of completing week 2. Give a compelling account of how meditation creates physical changes in the brain. Finally, there is Coming to Our Senses by Jon Kabat-Zinn, followed by an entertaining All It Takes Is 10 Mindful Minutes. That includes juggling and a provocative challenge to do nothing for 10 minutes. Readings. Sitting meditation describes the practice we are introducing this week. Joshua Bell plays a $3 million violin, and almost nobody cares, which is such a... You don't know that just because they're walking through. It's like they and sorry, I interjected. See, this is what I mean, right? So I twisted up what this said, right? I said nobody cares, right? But that's not. They're saying that nobody notices. That's quite a bit different, right? So I'm painting over what they're saying. It's hard for me to see this objectively, right? Because I have so many opinions about this, but almost nobody notices. Maybe that's fair, but I doubt it. I bet you most people notice. They just decided they didn't want to hear a funeral piece on their way to work. Is a more detailed account of the... And when did he give it? What time of day did he give it? In the morning? So what time of day? Compare the times of day between these two performances. Also the time of the week. Yeah. So early morning, come on, you're playing a funeral piece written by to commemorate the early death of someone's wife before 8 in the morning. Come on, really, really. And you're gonna make someone late for their job just to stand around and listen to? Wow, okay. Or listen to the same, pieces played a billion times by every other meditation from Thais. How many times have people heard that? Like, it's not like people have heard it before. Joshua Bell, I'm sorry to say, don't come at me with a pitchfork. He's not special. He's not nearly my favorite virtuosic violinist. As I said, Hilary Hahn is my favorite, but aside from that, I'm not that big. Like, if a violist was playing something really cool, like, maybe I'd be interested, but like, I'm just not that interested in violin. Like, I'm not a violinist, right? So, like, I'm sorry. Yeah, and look, if they played it during the lunch hour, the lunch break, right? They played it on a okay, he played it on a Friday at least, so that's better. But yeah, so this is midday in London during the lunch hour. Many people might have been on break or for lunch. Like, this is so like, and don't come at me with pitchforks for this too. This is so like autistic. It's like he has no sense of like what people want, right? So he's just shoving things down people's throats because he's put so much time and effort, and people should appreciate him for this. And he's not able to put himself in other people's shoes and give people what they want, right? Yeah, so he played in the early morning rush hour when people are generally focused on getting to work. I mean, what do you want people to do? You want to tank the economy? Like, come on. Performing around noon when people were taking a break, getting lunch, or casually walking around. Yeah. Of course, because they're the Beatles. Like, they know that they're the opposite of this. They know how to give people what they want. All right. So next two readings: how the brain rewires itself and how uh, uh, meditation affects the gray matter of the brain. Discusses the growing body of research that demonstrates how meditative practice, even redone for a relatively short period of time, weeks not years, can physically alter the brain in positive and adaptive ways. Daily practices. This week, for the formal practice, we introduced the sitting meditation using breath as the primary object of awareness, alternating this with the body scan, sitting one day, body scan the next. It can seem that the goal of the body scan or a sitting meditation is to stay focused on exactly one thing at a time, ankle, wrist, breath, and that when you notice your awareness has moved to a memory, internal narrative, sound, and wonderings about the sound, that you are somehow failing. These practices will increase your ability to focus and concentrate, but they will also expand your ability to be with whatever comes into your field of experience non-judgmentally. Your noticing that your attention has moved to another object is, in itself, mindfulness in action. Mindfulness includes both a concentrative attention, think laser beam, and a capacity to perceive a larger picture, think floodlight. Both are important. Focusing on only one thing leaves the larger picture unseen, and maintaining only a broad focus does not allow exploration of these parts. The informal practice this week is about becoming aware of how we experience and process pleasant events. They don't need to be major events. They can be something as simple as feeling the sun on your face or someone smiling at you. Just as we did last week, allow a few minutes before going to sleep to complete the informal practice log. Below are your materials for this week. So all these readings, this one's going to be very hard for me because as I mentioned before, playing a funeral piece to people trying to get to work and about to go through a day of stress just seems very cruel to me, and expecting them to just stand around and listening to it instead of getting to their job is basically everything that's wrong with the classical world, in my opinion, and it should serve as nothing else besides a wake up call to the classical world that it's time to understand audiences better, and to give people an experience that they give people a better experience, right? Because one of the things that happens in classical concerts too is people are supposed to magically know because they're part of this group, right? Of a people who appreciate classical performances, that you're not supposed to clap between movements, and like people don't know that because they're not told in advance. So people clap between the movements because they like the piece, and then they're like shamed. They're like, oh, you just don't know the classical world. You just, and it's like, who wants that experience? Especially like paying money and taking time out of their days. It's like, if you enjoyed the music, like clapping is fine, right? It's like, if you don't want people to clap, like make it clear that it's not done yet. It's not time to clap, right? So, but they don't do that. Like you have to have a little bit of theatrics to it, right? Like it's just if you want the audience to do something, you have to like tell them to do it, right? Okay, so let's see here. So okay, so I finished the description for that. So the next is the videos, and I won't be able to finish. I'll have to kind of pick and choose what I get to. What I would like to do is just get through start writing things down, right? Because I've got kind of a long ways to go, and if I miss a day here or there, having things started will be a much better situation. So we're gonna start by reading the description of the sitting meditation, which we have to read that whole thing, and then after that, we're gonna do the actual sitting meditation, which is here. It's 32 minutes, and we can use a video. And then the good old-fashioned body scan that we've done time and time again, we'll do that more. So let's do that. Let's read the description, and I probably won't have time to fit it in. But if it takes not that much time to read through this, I'll be able to log my first formal practice. So here we go. Sitting meditation, excerpted from Full Catastrophe Living. So we call the heart of the formal meditation practice sitting meditation, or simply sitting. As with breathing, sitting is not foreign to anyone. We all sit, nothing special about that. But mindful sitting is different from ordinary sitting in the same way that mindful breathing is different from ordinary breathing. The difference, of course, is your awareness. To practice sitting, we make a special time and place for non-doing. We consciously adopt an alert and relaxed body posture so that we can feel relatively comfortable without moving, and then we reside with calm acceptance in the present without trying to fill it with anything. You have already tried this in the various exercises in which you have watched your breathing. It helps a lot to adapt an erect and dignified posture with your neck, head, and back aligned vertically. And I'll note here, I have a saddle chair, which kind of naturally gives you the right posture. Dentists use it a lot, like professions where you have to sit all day, typically use saddle chairs because it can naturally align you to correct posture. So I definitely recommend using that. I got mine pretty cheap, but they can run like $1,000 for a good one. But yeah, I have something like this. It costs around $100. I think this is I'm not sure which one I have. This kind of looks exactly like the one I have. So I might have paid more for it. I think it's probably worth paying a lot for a chair that works. But you run the risk of buying a chair that doesn't work. But yeah, so we can see with the saddle chair, you can more easily have better posture. This allows the breath to flow most easily. It is also the physical counterpart of the inner attitudes of self-reliance, self-acceptance, and alert attention that we are cultivating. We usually practice the sitting meditation either on a chair or on the floor. See note at the end of this article for alternatives. If you choose a chair, the ideal is to use one that has a straight back that allows your feet to be flat on the floor. We often recommend that if possible you sit away from the back of the chair so that you spine without an R. I think what he meant to say was your spine is self-supporting. See figure A. But if you have to, leaning against the back of the chair is also fine. If you choose to sit on the floor, do so on firm, thick cushion, which raises your buttocks off the floor 3 to 6 inches. A pillow folded over once or twice does nicely, or you can purchase a meditation cushion or a safu. I don't know what that is. It's like I've seen these. Okay, I've seen these. Okay. Specifically for sitting. There are a number of cross-legged sitting postures and kneeling postures that some people use when they sit on the floor. The one I use most is the so-called Burmese posture, see figure B, which involves drawing one heel in close to the body and draping the other leg in front of it. Depending on how flexible your hips and knees are, your knees may or may not be touching the floor. It is somewhat more comfortable when they are. Others use a kneeling posture, placing the cushion between the feet. And I will note here that I'm right on the edge of class 2 obesity, depending on how I eat. Sometimes I am class 2 obese, but sometimes I'm at the very top of class 1 obesity, according to the WHO obesity standards. So I think this is the WHO. I think there's other. I'm not sure where these standards came from, but we can see if I Google for them. For it starts at 30 to 35 BMI. So I am class 2 obese, and I want to bring that up because for me, sitting, especially in the way described there, is very uncomfortable. So I just want to add the caveat that it's if you can't make it through the 32 minutes in the position he describes, just make it through in any position, even just like laying down flat on your back or whatever. But really kind of get in tune with the feelings you have. If you feel great at that weight, like, more power to you is the phrase that I hear a lot. So that's good. For me, I really noticed there's a lot of pressure in my stomach. I'm really concerned about diverticulosis. I actually feel like I might have some of that starting. Which is where your internal organs blow out because there's too much pressure in there for them to be able to resist. So I just feel absolutely horrible. So the goal of this exercise is to sit with that feeling and kind of pit that against so kind of get a better sense of your body. And this is what he said before, is like it's not going to be pleasant, right? So like for me, class 2 obesity, this is going to be rough. and just the main reason I want to bring it up, I probably won't be maintaining this position the whole time, and I think that's totally fair. Sitting on the floor can give you a reassuring feeling of being grounded and self-supporting in the meditation posture, but it is not necessary to meditate sitting on the floor or in a cross-legged posture. Some of our patients prefer the floor, but most sit on straight-backed chairs. Ultimately, it is not what you are sitting on that matters in meditation, but the sincerity of your effort. Whether you choose the floor or a chair, posture is very important in meditation practice. It can be an outward support of cultivating an inner attitude of dignity, patience, and self-acceptance. The main points to keep in mind about your posture are to try to keep the back, neck, and head aligned in the vertical, and to relax the shoulders, and to do something comfortable with your hands. Usually we place them on the knees or we rest them in the lap with the fingers of the left hand above the fingers of the right, and the tips of the thumbs just touching each other. When we have assumed the posture we have selected, we bring our attention to our breathing. We feel it come in, we feel it go out. We dwell in the present, moment by moment, breath by breath. It sounds simple, and it is. Full awareness on the in-breath, full awareness on the out-breath. Letting the breath just happen, observing it, feeling all the sensations, gross and subtle, associated with it. It is simple, but it is not easy. You can probably sit in front of a TV set or in a car on a trip for hours without giving it a thought. But when you try sitting in your house with nothing to watch but your breath, your body, and your mind, nothing to entertain you, and no place to go, the first thing you will probably notice is that at least part of you doesn't want to stay at this for very long. After perhaps a minute or two or three or four, either the body or mind will have had enough and demand something else, either to shift to some other posture or to do something else entirely. This is inevitable, and that's because you want to be tapped into these other things that might be causing you depression, anxiety, and stress. So the goal is to kind of remove yourself from those other things and develop that those facets of mindfulness, especially non-reactivity. It is at this point that the work of self-observation gets particularly interesting and fruitful. Normally, every time the mind moves, the body follows. If the mind is restless, the body is restless. If the mind wants a drink and the body goes to the kitchen sink or the refrigerator. If the mind wants a drink, the body goes to the kitchen sink or the refrigerator. So, what do you do? Or the body just mindlessly cracks open a can of soda and drinks it, and then wonders why there's gaining weight, right? So instead, you could mindfully get a glass of water and establish that habit instead, or even just switch to like diet soda. If the mind says this is boring, then before you know it, the body is up and looking around for the next thing to do to keep the mind happy. It also works the other way around. If the body feels the slightest discomfort, it will shift to be more comfortable, or it will call on the mind to find something else for it to do, and again, you will be standing up literally before you know it. If you are genuinely committed to being more peaceful and relaxed, you might wonder why it is that your mind is so quick to be bored with being with itself, and why your body is so restless and uncomfortable. You might wonder what is behind your impulses to fill each moment with something. What is behind your need to be entertained whenever you have an empty moment, to jump up and get going, to get back to doing and being busy. What drives the body and mind to reject being still? In practicing meditation, we don't try to answer these questions. Rather, we just observe the impulse to get up or the thoughts that come into the mind. And instead of jumping up and doing whatever the mind decides is next on the agenda, we gently but firmly bring our attention back to the belly and to the breathing, and just continue to watch the breath moment by moment. So we develop that non-reactivity, and we develop an alternative to mindlessness, where we just jump up and do whatever we're drawn towards, and we develop an ability to load in strategies and tools that help us be more effective, such as bullet journaling. I picked up bullet journaling. I've been interested in that. So as part of the KAIZEN Kaizen approach, ChatGPT and I might work at some point to integrate bullet journaling into my life, so that I can schedule like 15-minute scrubbing the tub sessions, cleanup sessions, to get my housekeeping skills under control, because they are still, I would say, needing a lot of work. And then I also have a mindfulness by design book that can cultivate aware, advancing, and authentic learning experiences. So maybe there's a way I can redesign things according to this book. So I've got 2 books at my desk that at some point I might be able to just reach for those, out of habit rather than doing something more destructive. In practicing meditation, we don't try to answer such questions. Rather, we just observe the impulse to get up or the thoughts that come into the mind. And instead of jumping up and doing whatever the mind decides is next on the agenda, we gently but firmly bring our attention back to the belly and to the breathing and just continue to watch the breath moment by moment. We may ponder why the mind is like this for a moment or two, but basically we are practicing accepting each moment as it is without reacting to how it is, right? Yeah. And that's good. And you can see how if you apply that to something other than your breath, like, getting your work done, or like doing some small 15-minute like house cleaning on the side or something like that, that can be you can almost turn that activity into something therapeutic, like a mindful awareness exercise, right? By doing so, you are training your mind to be less reactive and more stable. You are making each moment count. You are taking each moment as it comes, not valuing any one above any other. In this way, you are cultivating your natural ability to concentrate your mind. By repeatedly bringing your attention back to the breath each time it wanders off, concentration builds and deepens, much as muscles develop by repetitively lifting weights. Working regularly with, not struggling against, the resistance of your own mind builds inner strength. At the same time, you are also developing patience and practicing being non-judgmental. You are not giving yourself a hard time because your mind left the breath. You simply and matter-of-factly return it to the breath, gently but firmly. Mindfulness does not involve pushing thoughts away or walling yourself off from them to quiet your mind. We are not trying to stop our thoughts as they cascade through the mind. We are simply making room for them, observing them as thoughts, and letting them be, using the breath as our anchor or home base for observing and reminding us to stay focused and calm. So here's the position that he uses, just sitting upright in a chair. You can also adopt these sorts of positions, but if you're like me, those positions are going to become uncomfortable quite fast. Note, if you choose to sit on the floor, one of the most common problems is not having your hips high enough, causing strain in the back and decreased blood flow in feet and legs. Try using more cushions than you think you need, even a meditation bench, so that your lips are going to be high enough, but so that your hips are at least 6 inches higher than your knees. And if your lips are not higher than your knees, you're definitely doing it wrong. So here's a meditation bench. You can just sit on it and sit in that sort of posture. I cannot do that currently. So I'll probably be using my my saddle chair. All right, so with that being said, I can knock off a session. I've got plenty of time to do that. So here we go. So we've got plenty of time for the sitting meditation. So you know what? I think that's what I'll do. So we've got the audio version here. You can do anywhere, anytime, as long as you have like your phone. You don't even need an internet connection because you can download it. But I'm going to use the video version with closed captioning just so that there's not so much dead air during this video. So hopefully there are some captions. I'm not sure if there will be, but we've got the captions on. We've got the video queued up here. So all I have to do is hit play, and then I'll probably use the time in the video to find my spot to sit down. For now, I need a quick break. I'll come back, and then we'll knock this off, do the full meditation for 32 minutes, leave comments, and that will be the end of the video. All right, so here we go. Not easy, but let's get it done.
This segment guides you through a sitting meditation with breath as the primary object of awareness. Arranging to spend this time in a comfortable but attentive posture, preferably sitting up without leaning back for support if that's possible for you, and at a time and in a place where you won't be disturbed. Sitting in a dignified posture, head balanced on shoulders, arms and hands resting in a comfortable position. This is a time for allowing ourselves to switch from our normal mode of doing and moving and reacting to one of simply being, just being attentive to what is happening within your own awareness right here and right now. And as you sit, just noticing sensations of breath. Just noticing how your abdomen moves on each in-breath and out-breath. The movement of air through your nostrils. The slight movement of chest and shoulders. Just bringing awareness to whichever part of the breath cycle and wherever in your body it is most vivid, whether it be your tummy or your chest or your shoulders or the movement of air through your nostrils. Noticing the entire cycle of breath. From the movement of the air coming in and filling the lungs and extending the abdomen slightly. The movement of air going out. And being aware of the pause, the stopping point in between the in-breath and the out-breath and the out-breath and the next in-breath. It's all one movement. Even through the changing of direction, just noticing where that pause is. Seeing to what degree you can be aware of the whole entire cycle. Recognizing that each part of the cycle is different than another part. And this time through may be different than the last time through, and each one is absolutely unique in its own way if you pay attention. You'll notice your attention from time to time shifting away from breath. The mind may wander into fantasies or memories, thoughts of the day, worries that you might have, things you need to do. And without giving yourself a hard time, when you notice that that's happened, just gently but firmly bring your awareness back to the sensations of breathing. The actual physical sensations of breath as it moves through your body. being aware of where the mind goes. Gently shifting your awareness to sensations of breath, and noticing the tendency to want to control your breathing. Letting the quality of attention be light and easy. One of simply observing and noticing. Just as if you were on a float on a gently undulating sea, where you go up with one wave and down with the next. You don't control the duration of the waves or the depth between the waves. You're just riding. And it's gently coming back to sensations of breathing. You may notice that there are sounds in addition to the sounds that come from this recording. Sounds of traffic or movement or something else going on. And just noticing that your attention is moved to that perception of sound. And staying with it just long enough to notice the quality of the sound. Sound is vibration, tone, volume or intensity. Being aware of the tendency of the mind to label sound as traffic, or as voices, or as music. And coming closer to the actual experience of the sound as it hits your eardrums. Qualities of pitch or rhythm or intensity. Separating out the actual reception of sound from the labels we put on it. If you've been paying attention to sound or notice that you've gone off to be noticing the perceptions of sound, bringing your attention once again back to breath. Letting your breath be your anchor of awareness. So that each time your awareness goes somewhere else, just gently coming back to breath without judgment or any upset, if you can do that. Just say, well, my attention's gone somewhere else, just coming back to breath. Noticing the tendency to have an opinion about things, about liking the way things are going right now, not liking it, finding it uncomfortable. That too can be an object of awareness, just noticing that you have an opinion about things often. So that's my liking mind, just liking this. There's my critical mind, saying would rather have things be different than they are. And that too can be noticed. And building the capacity to notice liking or disliking and not to have to do anything about it. How freeing that is. And as you notice that happening, just bringing your awareness to the physical sensations of breath, wherever it's most vivid for you. Just riding the entire cycle, one cycle after another. You may notice your attention shifting to body sensations, sensations of achiness or discomfort, of tension. And as you notice these sensations of discomfort, if that happens for you, there's several things that can be done with such a sensation. And one is to simply, if it's one that can be remedied by shifting a little bit. One way to deal with the sensation is to allow yourself to shift. But in doing that first becoming aware of the sensation, noticing precisely where the achiness or the tension might be. And once you're aware of where that is, developing an intention to move and moving mindfully and with full intent to make that motion. That's one way to deal with a strong sensation. A second way, and neither one is better than the other as long as full awareness is brought to all parts, is to notice that sensation, noticing it in its fullness, being curious about the extent of it, how your experience of it is at the moment, the actual physical sensations of tension or of throbbing or of tightness or of pulling or tingling. And the second way of dealing with it is just to notice that it's possible to stay for a moment longer with that sensation and experience this pure sensation without the labels of discomfort or tension or achiness, just noticing just where it is. Noticing your experience of it. And staying with it without having to react to it, at least for the moment. And if your attention keeps getting pulled back to that area of intense sensation, knowing that you have those two choices of forming an intention to do something about it and mindfully doing it, but forming the intention first, or bringing your intention and attention right into it, being curious about it. How big is it? How long is it? What quality does it have? How is it changing over time? And wherever the mind goes, in terms of thoughts or liking or disliking, perceptions of sensation or hearing of sound, or feelings of peace or of sadness, or of frustration, or of anticipation. Just noticing these are all thought forms and bringing awareness to sensations, to the movement of breath. being curious about breath, observing that no two breaths are exactly the same. And seeing if it's possible to have a friendly attitude towards whatever comes into your awareness. Now, if your mind has gone off on a fantasy or a thought or a judgment or a worry or a sensation or a sound, just in a friendly way, noticing that this is happening and coming back to breath. Recognizing the entire cycle of awareness is important to this experience, including the movement from breath and including the coming back. Nothing to do but ride the waves of breath. seeing if it's possible at those moments when your awareness has gone somewhere else, noticing how that flicker of attention happens, that moment when you realize it is somewhere else and somewhere other than breath. And at that moment, seeing if it's possible to have an attitude of celebration, of congratulation, of recognition that this is a moment of awareness. You acknowledge yourself for noticing you've gone somewhere else. And just easily bring your attention back to breath in a friendly and a non-judgmental way. As this meditation comes to an end, recognizing that you've spent this time intentionally aware of your moment-to-moment experience, nourishing and strengthening your ability to be with whatever comes your way, building the capacity for opening the senses to the vividness, to the aliveness of the present moment, expanding your skill to be curious and available about whatever presents itself without judgment. And when you're ready, allowing the eyes to let some light in if you've had them closed. And permitting yourself now to shift or to stretch in whatever way feels comfortable as the sitting meditation ends.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lynn Rossi, health psych.
All right, so I think that's the end of that. So next is to leave a few comments. Yeah, and that took me right up to the start of the workday. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. I guess I did notice a lot of vivid daydreaming. Thought about lots of different aspects. My life, I'd say over 20. Say I had over 20 different unique, different vivid representations over the course of the meditation, each for something unique in my life. And that's all I gotta say. It's just a few words. So then tomorrow let's do let's make some progress for tomorrow by completing the body scan. But the good news is for today, that's completely it for the formal practice. For the informal practice, we're going to try to recall one pleasant thing, and for me, I think that probably will be my band practice tonight. I typically look forward to that throughout the week. So that's will be the pleasant events calendar informal practice. So all we do here is we describe the experience, and then describe that. So. All right, and then of course there's more to do than that. This course is kind of overly ambitious for some people. I think it might be. For me, we're just gonna keep chugging through it one piece at a time. So we will need to do the videos. You know what? We got 2 minutes to just knock off this video here. So let's just knock off this video, and then we read everything here. So then we'll have less to do the next time. So I'm gonna knock off this video, and then that'll be the end of this here.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
All right, and I
The
counted
correct
16.
answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla?
I did, because I've done this a few times
For
before.
people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half miss the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game?
I noticed the curtain changing color. I forgot about the player leaving the
Let's
game.
rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events.
And the other thing you can notice is especially her, when the gorilla comes
Here
in,
comes the gorilla,
they find the presence of the gorilla to be pretty comical,
and there
right?
goes a player, and the curtain
So the gorilla comes in,
is changing from red
pounds his chest. I don't know if that's completely ad-libbed or if that was supposed to happen, but it sounds like the pounding of the chest really caused a lot of the other participants to smile, especially her too. So kind of break the neutral
When
expression.
you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion. You're looking for a gorilla.
Yeah, so I forgot about the person leaving, but I saw those because I've seen this multiple times before. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's pretty cool. It is a good example of the fact that you can't perceive everything, right? So, all right, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.